So in today's Insight Tonight, the show, we are fortunate that someone who is taking keen interest for various reasons into the development related to foreign student visa approach of President Trump. I welcome Attorney David Nachman. Namaste, welcome.
Nice to be with you, Ashok.
So there is a little technical lag, but I would seek excuse from our viewers and kindly share with us latest development with respect to foreign student visa directives from White House, where it leaves students in terms of their uncertainty and concerns, and how do you see it's likely to play out in future?
Well, Ashok, it has been quite a bit of a roller coaster ride for me and for probably a vast majority of our international student officer clients and designated student officer clients across the country who found out a couple of days ago that students who, if their programs were going to all online, which many academic institutions did decide to do, that foreign students would not be allowed to take part in those programs, and that they would be required to either go home, or for those of them who are applying at the U.S. Consulate Office abroad for visitor visas, for student visas, would not be able to come in. And so that was a very onerous and draconian determination that was made by SEVP, and it was sent out as a broadcast and sent everyone into a tailspin. And we found out only about 2 hours ago, maybe even a little less, that, first of all, I think that we need to take a step back to say that MIT and Harvard filed the first lawsuits, which was joined later by the California system and other states. I think about 15 states all joined in this action, which was brought before the court, I think, for argument today. And rather than for there to be an argument on a preliminary injunction, which I can explain to you what that is, it basically means that they were looking to preserve the status quo. There was a settlement, and that settlement was that SEVP has withdrawn their determination, their policy, and back to the status quo. However, of course, now, and I just heard from one of our DSO clients that there appears to be a rumor circulating that there's a possibility that this new broadcast that came out about a week ago is going to apply to new students and not to old students. So it really is maybe, it's as we spoke earlier, it's a short win, and we're not sure exactly what's going to happen. It's possible that the government has felt the wrath, if you will, of the judiciary. The executive is now going to take appropriate steps to do this policy through what's called a rulemaking through the Administrative Procedures Act, where maybe what they do is they present this, through the rulemaking process, and that would be either a proposed rule which is deserving of public comment, or there's going to be an interim rule or a final rule, in which case it would take effect immediately. So I don't believe that the fight is over, Ashok. I think what we're looking at is maybe that this is the beginning, if you will, of the battle, but at least a line is being drawn, and we know who's gathered side of the issue.
So for short term, it is a sign of relief for those students who are here, and if the universities are not offering classes and it's all online, still they don't have to leave states, and that is a big relief for many students who are facing this threat. And so there is a process of de-stress for now. But as we in this show are talking about stress and progress under President Trump, there is an important development happening 2020, which relates to presidential election. Now, some people are looking at President Trump's approach as not being friendly with immigrants. Would you have some opinion, especially having seen some decisions related to H-1B visa holders as well as students and
Well, it's clear, Ashok, at least in this environment with the policies that are being promulgated, that the administration is not friendly to immigrants. But to a degree, I believe that that's always a little bit of a power play. And this is an election year, as you properly point out, and the current administration needs to play directly to the platform, and it needs to play to the individuals who are going to be providing the voting, the voting bloc, to be able to get this administration back in for a second term. So obviously, being xenophobic, being anti-immigrant is definitely not one of those issues where there's been moderation. Obviously, immigrants have always been and continue to be an easy target because generally immigrants don't vote. And because of that, it's easy to wreak havoc on the immigration issue. And we've seen it time and time again during election years. In fact, if you recall, back in 1996, when President second term, he turned over the immigration laws to the Republican Party, and we now, as a result of very draconian laws that were implemented under IRA, we are now trying, even to today, deal with the 3 and 10-year bars that were implemented back in 1996. And what was interesting, if you take a look historically, is that President Clinton felt really bad about what he did to the immigrants in 1996. And then in 2001, he implemented the Life Act, which is referred to as like a limited amnesty. So I hold in my heart of hearts, maybe too hopefully, Ashok, that maybe if we have, maybe this is the storm, we're in the storm right now, but maybe there's a possibility that there may be some calm at the end.
Okay, so now, one, I appreciate your having clarified some of these issues. And before we conclude this short conversation, the recent development with respect to H-1B visa and certain restrictions on the process of green card finalization process, can you briefly tell us where we stand and how much concerned some H-1B visa holders should be in realizing their American dream?
It's also a great question, Ashok. And we, of course, representing highly skilled H-1B workers in the United States, are monitoring this very, very carefully. And what we're seeing, of course, is that under the proclamation which the president promulgated, in June, he put a ban on work visas on H's, on L's, and on J's, and it really sent everyone into a tailspin. And I think that what it also, the silver lining, of course, in what he's done is he's brought to the forefront a lot of reports where I think there's a new understanding about how important H-1Bs are to our economy and building our economic infrastructure. But I think that, unfortunately, H-1Bs are going to have to wait until December 31st to enter. I think that unfortunately our administration, our current administration, is really cutting off its nose to spite its face, because if they're about economic recovery, it would seem to me that if they want economic recovery, then they need to be sensitive to the important role that's brought about by these work visas and by the folks who are bringing these highly skilled and desired skill sets to the United States from foreign countries.
Okay, and before I thank you and I let you go, a very brief comment on the way things are in terms of immigration-related issues being handled by administration. There was a slowdown due to COVID-19. Are we back to the normal speed of functioning?
So actually, unfortunately, we're not. And as you may be aware, and probably have read in the news, that there is a $1.2 billion shortfall at the USCIS, and they're projecting potentially that the USCIS is going to be furloughing approximately 70% of its staff. So we are experiencing tremendous delays, unfortunately. Cases that were filed prior to the pandemic are starting to be taken up. We're receiving interviews, meetings at the application support centers now. We're not seeing the interviews at the district offices in full swing, but we are seeing that things are slowly coming back up to speed. Unfortunately, things at the consulates abroad, they are still tremendously slow. And while we are getting reports of some of the consulates that are back in business, most of them, unfortunately, are not. And that was a result of most of the individuals who were at the U.S. consulates when the COVID-19 pandemic emerged. Many of them came back to the United States to be with their families. So it's now basically those consulates are running on skeleton crews. So it's going to take a little while for them to work out from under that to be able to get back to normal processing times.
And after having asked you this question, I am also sorry to interrupt.
Our advice to our continues to be that it's best to be please, be persistent and be patient, and things will come. But you have to understand that these are extremely unprecedented times.
Absolutely. I think these are the key words: be persistent and be patient. And I am glad you were patient enough to join us at such a short notice. I really appreciate that. And before I say goodbye to you, I also recollect that airline industry has also seen unprecedented slowdown. In fact, very few flights flying between several countries, including America to India. So the overall slowdown in the immigration process is also understandable, and it is a new kind of a rhythm of this time. But I appreciate you empowering your clients as well as sharing these valuable insight with words of assurance for one and all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashok. As we say in our office, we're trying to save the world one person at a time.
Beautiful. Thank you.